Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Welcome to AP Human Geography. If this is your first class, don't worry, we're going to make it simple, fun, and easy to understand. APHG is all about understanding the world we live in, how people interact with each other, with cultures, and with the environment. Think of it as a way to see patterns in everything around you, from cities, roads, and countries to ideas, businesses, and cultures. The first big idea is spatial thinking. This means looking at where things are and asking why they are there. For example, why do cities grow in certain places? Why do people migrate from one country to another? Next, we have place and region. Every place has unique features: mountains, rivers, language, or culture. Regions are groups of places that share similarities. Understanding these helps you see the bigger picture of how humans organize space. Another key concept is human-environment interaction. Humans adapt to their environment, like building bridges over rivers, and also change it, sometimes in ways that affect everyone. Finally, we'll explore connections and globalization. Everything is linked, through trade, migration, or technology. AP Human Geography helps you understand these links and patterns so the world starts to make more sense. Remember, APHG isn't about memorizing, it's about thinking like a geographer. By the end of this course, you'll see patterns, connections, and meaning in the world that most people miss. Stick with me, and I'll make this journey easy, clear, and even exciting. Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Welcome to today's AP Human Geography lesson. In this session, we're diving into the fascinating world of geography, exploring why it's considered a science, and how modern tools help us understand our world. Why geography is a science? Geography isn't just about memorizing place names. It's a science because it seeks to explain patterns and processes on Earth. Geographers observe, measure, and analyze physical and human phenomena, asking questions like, why do cities form in certain locations? How do climate and culture shape human activities? Just like other sciences, geography relies on data, evidence, and systematic reasoning to understand our world. Introducing geography. Geography can be broadly divided into two branches: physical geography, which studies natural environments like mountains, rivers, and climate, and human geography, which focuses on people, culture, economics, and interactions with the environment. By combining these perspectives, geographers can see the world as an interconnected system. The science of mapmaking. Maps are one of geography's most powerful tools. Cartography, the science of mapmaking, allows geographers to visually represent spatial information. Through maps, we can track population growth, migration patterns, climate zones, and even political boundaries. Contemporary geographic tools. Today, geographers use cutting-edge technology. Geographic Information Systems, GIS, let us layer multiple types of data to analyze complex patterns. Remote sensing uses satellites and drones to collect information about the Earth's surface. These tools make geographic research faster, more accurate, and more detailed than ever before. Data collection and mental mapping. Data collection is essential. Surveys, censuses, GPS tracking, and field observations provide raw data for analysis. Mental mapping is another technique. It involves drawing maps from memory to understand how people perceive their surroundings. These methods give insight into both physical layouts and human cognition. Interpreting maps. Reading a map is more than seeing shapes. Geographers analyze symbols, scales, and legends to understand what the map communicates. Whether it's identifying regions of high economic activity or predicting weather patterns, interpreting maps helps make sense of spatial relationships. The geographic grid. The geographic grid, the system of latitude and longitude, lets us pinpoint any location on Earth with precision. Latitude lines run east to west, measuring distance from the equator, while longitude lines run north to south, measuring distance from the prime meridian. This universal system allows geographers to locate, compare, and study places anywhere in the world. Geography combines observation, analysis, and technology to help us understand the planet and the people on it. From maps to GIS, mental mapping to data collection, geographers turn information into knowledge that shapes how we interact with our world. Thanks for joining today's lesson in AP Human Geography. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and remember, every place has a story waiting to be mapped. Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Let's explore an important question in human geography. Why is each point on Earth unique? Every place on Earth is different, and geographers study this uniqueness through three main ideas: place, region, and culture. First, let's talk about place. A place can be identified in three ways. Name, or toponym. This is the label we give a location. For example, New York, Cairo, or Tokyo. Names often carry history, culture, or even stories of colonization. Site. These are the physical features of a location, like its climate, elevation, or soil type. For example, New Orleans is located below sea level and surrounded by wetlands, which makes it unique in terms of flooding risks. Situation. This is a place's location relative to other places. For example, Singapore's situation at the crossroads of major shipping routes in Southeast Asia makes it a global trade hub. So, no two points on Earth are exactly the same because each combines a different name, site, and situation. Next, let's look at regions, which are larger areas that share some kind of characteristic. There are three main types. Formal regions are defined by measurable traits. Think of Texas as a state, or the Corn Belt in the United States, where most farmers grow corn. Functional regions are centered around a node or focal point. For example, the New York City metropolitan area is tied together by commuting patterns, newspapers, and economic activity. Vernacular regions are based on people's perception. When people say, the South, in the United States, they might be thinking about sweet tea, accents, or traditions, but there's no official boundary. Finally, uniqueness also comes from culture. Culture has two sides. What people care about. This includes beliefs, traditions, language, and religion. For example, in India, Hindu festivals like Diwali show what people value and celebrate. What people take care of. This means the material side of life: food, clothing, shelter, and technology. For example, in Japan, people take care of rice paddies and urban spaces with careful design and efficiency. When you combine place, region, and culture, you see why every point on Earth is one of a kind. The way people name a location, how they adapt to its physical setting, how it connects to other areas, how it fits into broader regions, and the culture they live by, all of these layers together create a unique identity for each spot on the planet. So next time you hear the name of a city, or travel to a new town, think like a geographer. Ask yourself, what makes this place unique? The answer will always be a fascinating mix of place, region, and culture. Everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Today, we're asking an important question in human geography. Why are different places similar? To answer this, geographers think in terms of scale, space, and connections. First, let's look at scale. At the global scale, we study big patterns that affect the entire planet, things like worldwide trade, climate change, or global communication through the internet. At the local scale, we zoom into smaller areas, like one neighborhood or city, where those global forces play out in unique ways. By moving between scales, geographers can see both the big picture and the local details. Next is space. When geographers study space, they look at the distribution of features across Earth. Distribution has three key properties: density, the frequency with which something occurs in space. For example, the number of people living per square mile; concentration, how spread out or clustered those features are. A city might have a concentrated downtown and a more dispersed suburban area. Pattern, the geometric arrangement of those features, like streets built in a grid or farmland laid out in lines. Different cultural groups create different distributions in space. For example, religious buildings, languages on signs, or the layout of homes reflect a community's cultural identity. These identities are what tie people together and shape the way places look and feel. But space is also connected to inequality. Not all regions of the world have the same access to resources, goods, or opportunities. Geographers often describe this through the idea of core and peripheral regions. Core regions, like the United States, Western Europe, or Japan, are highly developed and connected to global trade networks. Peripheral regions, often in parts of Africa, Latin America, or Asia, may have less access to wealth and technology, creating global inequalities. Finally, let's talk about connections. Places don't exist in isolation, they're linked through networks. Phenomena spread across space through a process called diffusion. Diffusion can happen in two main ways: relocation diffusion, when people physically move and bring their culture, ideas, or technology with them. Think of how pizza spread from Italy to the United States. Expansion diffusion, where an idea or trend spreads outward from a central point without people having to move. Social media trends are a great example. Today, technology and globalization have led to what geographers call space-time compression, the idea that the world feels smaller and more connected because information, goods, and people can move faster than ever before. Despite this, not all places benefit equally. Peripheral regions often remain at a disadvantage, showing us that while places may seem more similar, inequalities still persist. So, why are different places similar? Because geographers find that at every scale, local or global, features are distributed in patterned ways, cultural identities shape space, connections spread ideas and goods, and yet, inequalities remind us that the world, while connected, is far from equal. That's why modern geography increasingly focuses on the global scale, where similarities and differences between places become most visible and most important to understand. Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Welcome to today's AP Human Geography lesson. Our focus is on geography, sustainability, and Earth's resources. To begin, let's think about a question. Why do some human actions harm the Earth while others help us live sustainably? Geography provides the framework to explore this. Sustainability connects to ecology, resources, and Earth's physical systems. Together, they reveal how human choices shape the future of our planet. Why some actions are not sustainable? Sustainability means meeting today's needs without compromising the future. But not all actions fit this definition. Examples of unsustainable actions: deforestation in the Amazon. Cutting down trees faster than they can regrow destroys biodiversity, reduces oxygen production, and alters global climate. Overfishing in the Atlantic and Pacific. Fish populations collapse when extraction outpaces natural reproduction. Urban sprawl in megacities like Lagos and Los Angeles. Rapid growth strains water, land, and energy supplies. Fossil fuel dependence. Coal and oil are finite, and burning them accelerates climate change. Can you think of an example in your community where human activity might not be sustainable? Geography, sustainability, and Earth's physical systems. Geographers study how humans interact with Earth's physical systems. Earth's resources are part of three abiotic spheres. Atmosphere provides breathable air, regulates climate, and enables agriculture. Unsustainable action. Burning fossil fuels, right-pointing arrow, air pollution, acid rain, global warming. Hydrosphere, all water on Earth. Unsustainable action. Overdrawing groundwater in places like the Ogallala Aquifer in the U.S. water shortages for future farmers. Lithosphere, Earth's crust and soil. Unsustainable action. Strip mining and soil erosion in sub-Saharan Africa, loss of farmland and desertification. Together with the biosphere, these systems are interdependent. Change one, and you change them all. The Aral Sea in Central Asia once supported fisheries and farming. Overuse of water for cotton irrigation caused the sea to shrink by 90%. The result? Ruined ecosystems, toxic dust storms, and collapsed economies. Why do you think governments ignored the long-term sustainability of the Aral Sea when they began irrigation projects? Geography, sustainability, and ecology. Ecology studies interactions between living organisms and the abiotic environment. An ecosystem, like a coral reef, rainforest, or grassland, functions through balance. In a sustainable ecosystem, resources recycle naturally. For example, a forest where fallen leaves enrich the soil, which nourishes new growth. In an unsustainable ecosystem, human disruption breaks the cycle. Example: coral reefs die from pollution, overfishing, and rising sea temperatures. Coral bleaching in the Great Barrier Reef. Rising ocean temperatures stress corals, which eject symbiotic algae. Without intervention, an entire ecosystem may vanish, affecting tourism, fisheries, and biodiversity. What do you think? Can ecosystems recover once they pass a tipping point, or are they permanently lost? Sustainable environmental change. Environmental change is constant, but sustainable change means finding a balance. We often use the three pillars of sustainability, such as environment, economy, and society. Environment, protect ecosystems, reduce waste, conserve biodiversity. Economy, promote industries that use renewable energy, green technology, and circular production. Society, ensure equality, health, and education while reducing poverty. Germany's renewable energy transition, heavy investment in wind and solar shows how an advanced economy can shift toward sustainability. Costa Rica's forest protection. Laws against deforestation plus ecotourism created both jobs and conservation success. Which of the three pillars do you think is the hardest to achieve, environment, economy, or society? Why? Sustainability is the meeting point of Earth's systems, resources, ecology, economy, and society. Key takeaways. Some human actions are unsustainable because they overuse or pollute resources. Geography shows us how the abiotic spheres, atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, interact with the biosphere. Ecology reminds us that ecosystems are fragile, and sustainability depends on balance. The three pillars, environment, economy, society, must all be considered together. Sustainability is not just a scientific idea, it is a human responsibility. Every decision, from how we grow food to how we power cities, shapes the Earth's future. How can we act today so that future generations inherit a livable planet? Find a news article about a sustainability issue, example climate change, water shortage, energy transition. Write a short summary and explain whether the action described is sustainable or not. Create a diagram of the three pillars of sustainability and list at least one example for each.
Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Alright class, let's wrap up with a quick review of some big questions in human geography. First, why is geography considered a science? Geography isn't just about memorizing maps. It's about asking questions, collecting data, analyzing patterns, and using evidence to explain how people and places are connected. Just like other sciences, geographers form hypotheses and test them with observations, tools like GIS, and fieldwork. That's what makes it a science. Second, why is each point on Earth unique? Every location has a combination of physical features, like climate or landforms, and human features, like culture, economy, or politics. No two places share exactly the same mix. That unique blend is what gives each spot on Earth its identity. Third, why are different places similar? Even though places are unique, they're also linked. Think about globalization. Ideas, products, technology, and culture spread rapidly across space. Cities on different continents might look alike because of global brands or shared lifestyles. Geographers study these patterns to understand how connections make distant places feel more similar. Fourth, why are some actions not sustainable? Human activity always uses resources, but not all choices respect the limits of the environment. When we overuse resources, pollute ecosystems, or ignore long-term impacts, those actions become unsustainable. Geography helps us ask, which practices can continue without harming future generations, and which ones put our planet at risk? So, geography as a science gives us the tools to ask tough questions. It helps us see both the uniqueness of places and the global connections that tie them together. And it reminds us to think carefully about sustainability in the choices we make. That's the power of human geography.
Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any tips that make AP Human Geography easy and fun. Part A. Multiple choice, choose the best answer. What is the main focus of human geography? A. Physical landforms and climate. B. Human activities, cultures, and their relationship to space. C. Mapping the oceans and tectonic plates. D. Predicting earthquakes and volcanoes. Answer. B. Human activities, cultures, and their relationship to space. Which of the following explains why each point on Earth is unique? A. Globalization. B. Cultural landscape. C. Scale. D. Space-time compression. Answer. B. Cultural landscape. Which of the following best explains why different places may appear similar today? A. Isolated development. B. Diffusion of culture and globalization. C. Plate tectonics. D. Distinct regional identity. Answer. B. Diffusion of culture and globalization. What is the term for actions that damage the environment and limit future resources? A. Spatial analysis. B. Sustainability. C. Unsustainable practices. D. Possibilism. Answer. C. Unsustainable practices. The spread of McDonald's restaurants around the world is an example of A. Spatial divergence. B. Hierarchical diffusion. C. Regional identity. D. Environmental determinism. Answer. B. Hierarchical diffusion. Part B. Short answer. Why is each point on Earth considered unique? Answer. Because each location has a unique combination of physical features, climate, landforms, and cultural characteristics, language, religion, architecture, land use. Together, these form the cultural landscape that makes one place different from another. How does globalization make places more similar? Answer. Globalization spreads cultural elements, food, music, technology, fashion, and economic practices worldwide, creating uniform landscapes, such as shopping malls, highways, or chain stores, that look alike across regions. Give one example of a human action that is not sustainable. Explain why. Answer. Overusing fossil fuels is not sustainable because they are non-renewable resources. Once depleted, they cannot be replaced quickly, and burning them contributes to climate change. Part C. Critical thinking, extended response. Explain how geographers use the concept of scale to understand human-environment interactions. Answer. Geographers use scale to connect local actions to global consequences. For example, deforestation in the Amazon is a local process, but when viewed at the global scale, it contributes to climate change. Scale helps show how decisions in one region can affect the entire world. Some argue globalization destroys cultural diversity, while others argue it creates new forms of culture. Take a position and defend it with one example. Answer. Globalization can reduce cultural diversity because local traditions are replaced with global brands, e.g., Starbucks replacing traditional tea shops. However, it can also create hybrid cultures, such as mixing local cuisine with international flavors. Both processes happen at the same time,